Hello. Today we are going to go over how to navigate the eConsent platform in REDCap. And by completing this video and reading the relevant MLP sections, you have satisfied the Informed Consent Part 2 eConsent training. All right, so we are going to start with our test participant. You can see that they've started the initial process of enrolling into NPH. So they've filled out their create profile form, the participant profile form, and the screening review form. So now we are going to proceed with the consent visit, and we'll every visit within the REDCap system always will start with a form called the visit gateway. And when you click into it, you can see that this visit gateway is essentially the first part of the visit. So you will put in the date of the visit. So for the consent visit, we have today as our date. That's when you are actually conducting the consent with the participant. And below, you'll see that there's some information here, just some key tasks related to the consent visit. So we have, the Module 1 consent ready form, the Module 1 informed consent form, and then the Module 1 informed consent checklist. And this just kind of gives the purpose of these forms and then also tells you the current status of the form, or how far, if the form has been filled out, if it's been started. So as you can see, the consent form has not been unlocked yet. And so that'll be our next step in this process. Below, you'll just see something called progress notes. And these notes are for your record keeping, if you just need to put any notes that you think might be relevant for you to be aware of about the particular participant and about the visit, you can add them here. There's no expectations on the RCC side of what you put here. It's purely for your use and just for your own record keeping. So once you're done with this form, you would just change the status to complete, and then you would save and exit. And then the next form that you will click into will be this Module 1 consent ready form. So in this form, this is where you actually indicate that the participant is ready to complete the consent process. And you'll see that there's some just initial information here about the participant's actions within the system. So you can see that the participant did create their profile. They have confirmed their contact info, and they have reviewed that screening review form, which also we saw previously by those green check marks. Now this is just an initial question for you to answer. Did the participant decline to consent to the protocol? Yes or no? So at this point, it's possible that, the participant initially said that they were interested, and now kind of given more thought, actually does not want to participate in the study. So that's okay. They are able, once they tell you that, you can just click yes to this, and then you would go to a form called the final status form, and I'll just make this a little bigger so you can see the note. So you have a note here that says, if the participant declines, then please fill out the final status form. And you would just indicate that, they initially said that they were interested and now have decided not to go forward with the study. But for our test participant, they are consenting to the protocol. They want to go forward with consent. So you would select no, they did not decline. And then you would check this box here below that says that they are ready to sign the consent. And there's a note here as well that says by checking this box, the consent will be made visible within the participant survey list. And that's correct. So once you check this box, you change the status to complete and you save and exit the form. That's what actually puts the informed consent form in the participant survey queue. Currently, it's not there. They don't have access to it. But once you indicate that they are ready to go forward with consent, that's what actually puts the informed consent form in their queue. So we'll just save and exit. And now the participant is able to go to their queue and click into the form. And I'll just show you a preview. So currently, this is the participant's queue. They didn't have access to the consent form, as we said, but because we checked off that they're ready to go through with consent and we save the form, we can just refresh. Now they have access to the consent form. They can just click begin survey. And once they click it, then they'll be taken to the consent form and they'll just click through and go forward with the consent. So now I'll just show you what that looks like. So this is towards the end of the consent form once we get to those optional study components. So this is where the participant, opts in or opts out of these components here. And one thing just to be aware of, there's no option to save and come back to this form. We want this consent process to happen all in one sitting. So if the participant, stops halfway or isn't able to finish, when they restart the process, they have to start from the beginning. They're not able to start, halfway or a quarter of the way through. They have to start from the beginning and go through the consent process from start to finish all in one sitting. So this is the last page of the consent where they have that statement of consent. And then they can check this box here saying that they've read the consent form. They understand the information. And then here is where they actually will type their name. And this will be the e-signature for the consent form. And then below here, you can see that today's date is pre-populated. And then once they're done with this, they will just check this. They will click this button here that says submit my informed consent. All right, so now they've saved it. They're taken back to their queue. As you can see, there's no option here to edit the response. That is done on purpose. Once they are done with the consent form, they're not able to, go back and edit any information. All right, so now we can refresh this page, the record homepage, and you can see that there's now that green check mark here for that form that shows that the participant has filled out and completed that survey. So the next part in the process is the staff member then goes into the staff consent checklist and goes through and just confirms that all of these required elements of consent have been completed. So it just kind of goes through each part of the process and you confirm that you did all of these steps. You determine that, the appropriate time is given for the participant. The participant attended the visit either in person or virtually, etc. Once you confirm that all of these were completed, the next part is for the staff member to then sign the consent form. So you would just click this button here that says click here to sign the consent form. And then there's just a reminder that once you're done signing it, you'll just have to come back to this consent checklist just to confirm that you did also sign the consent form yourself. All right, so now you're taken to the consent form, the same version of the consent form as the participant. The only difference is instead of having to click through every page, you're just able to scroll down to the bottom. But once you get to the bottom, you can see that all the information that the participant put in or indicated on their consent form has been piped into here. So you can see that they do agree, they don't agree. This is all from what the participants put in their own consent form. You can see that they checked off the statement of consent, and you can see the name of the participant here. So here's where you would just type in your name as a staff member who is obtaining consent. This is your e-signature here. Below, you can also see, once again, the date is pre-populated. And then there's just this certification here that just, you can just know that this indicates that all the information is correct. And, signing this form electronically is equivalent of signing a physical document. So once you're done signing your name on the consent form, you would just hit next page. And once you hit next page, you're actually taken to a PDF preview of the consent form. And it's just a PDF version of the same consent form that you were just viewing. When you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that all the information is here. The participant's e-signature is here, and your e-signature as a staff member is here. And then here at the bottom, you can see that this option to submit informed consent is not actually able to be clicked. And that's because you have to first certify that all the information in the document is correct. So once you do certify that, you check the box, then you're able to hit submit the informed consent. And then once you hit that, it's been saved. And actually saving and submitting the consent form emails the PDF version to the participant, and then it also saves a version of the consent form to the file repository that's here. So once you save that, you come back to this consent checklist. And the last step is just to verify that the participant has been consented and is ready to proceed to visit 1. And that includes you signing the consent form as well. So you just verified that, change the status to complete, and then you hit save and exit form. Now, once you've done that, you can see that a few of the forms for Visit 1 have been unlocked. That's because you have indicated that the participant has been consented. And now the next step in the process is just to confirm eligibility. So thank you so much. And this, once again, was going over the process of how to navigate the eConsent platform in BRIC.